Listen to the sound of those heavy, fat raindrops smacking against the cracked asphalt of a rundown apartment parking lot, right here in Houston. Lightning flashes across the sky, lighting up a busted neon sign that flickers. Willow Creek Apartments. Now, look up at the second-story breezeway. Cardboard boxes and plastic laundry baskets are flying through the dark air. They slam into the muddy puddles below, bursting open, and scattering a family's whole life into the dirt. That big beefy man standing up there in the stained baseball cap and faded flannel shirt is Harrison. His face is flushed red with pure rage. He has a cruel, mocking grin stretching across his jaw. He grabs a small wooden rocking horse, lifts it high over his head, and shoves it right over the metal railing. It shatters into a dozen pieces on the concrete stairs below. He hollers over the thunder, telling her to get her junk off his property. He tells her that she and her little boy can go sleep in their car for all he cares. He screams that this ain't a charity. He yells that if you don't pay, you don't stay in his great state. Now, zoom out, and look at the bottom of those dark stairs. Standing right there in the freezing rain is Maya. She is clutching her 5-year-old son, TJ, tight against her chest. She is wrapped in nothing but a thin denim jacket. Her hair is completely soaked and dripping onto her shoulders. The little boy is crying, burying his face deep in her neck because he is absolutely terrified, but Maya isn't screaming. She isn't hysterical. She is standing perfectly still, in the middle of the storm. She is watching Harrison with eyes that look like cold, hard flint. Down here in Texas, we like to say a man's home is his castle. It don't matter if it's a 10,000-acre cattle spread out in the hill country, or a cramped 2-bedroom apartment sitting right on the greasy edge of Harris County. If you pay your rent, you got a God-given right to lay your head down in peace. But every now and then, you run into some fella with a little bit of property who thinks he don't just own the brick and mortar. He truly thinks he owns the souls of the people living inside it. For the past 8 months, Maya has been living quietly in apartment 4B. If you passed her on the street, you would think she was just another tired, overworked mother trying to keep her chin above water. She drives an old beat-up Chevy Cruze with a dented back bumper. She works long, strange hours. She comes home way past dark carrying a heavy leather briefcase. She always looks like she is carrying the weight of the whole damn county on her shoulders. Let's rewind the clock just a bit so you can understand exactly how we got to this miserable night. Think back to those warm golden hour evenings over Houston just a few weeks ago. You would see Maya walking TJ home from the school bus stop. She would be smiling, holding his little hand, patiently listening to his stories about kindergarten. She was always gentle. She was always patient, but her posture was always completely straight and unbroken. Inside her small apartment, the living room was impeccably clean. The walls were lined with heavy thick textbooks. There was a small American flag sitting right there on her neat little desk. Everything in her life was ordered and deeply cared for. Harrison looked at Maya and saw what he thought was an easy mark. He saw a young single black mother living in a low-income neighborhood. In his twisted, small mind, that meant she didn't have money, it meant she didn't have power. And it sure as heck meant she didn't know her legal rights. He figured she was just another vulnerable person he could bully, intimidate, and squeeze completely dry. But y'all, sometimes the universe has a funny way of setting a deadly trap for the arrogant. Maya wasn't who he thought she was. Not by a long shot. That quiet dignity she carried around wasn't weakness. That right there is what you call real, unshakable Texas grit. If you can see that quiet power in Maya's eyes already, do me a quick favor. Drop the words Black Excellence down in the comments section right now. Let's show some respect for a mother who refuses to bend or break when the world gets ugly. Go ahead and type it in so we can fill this video with that positive energy before we see how this storm unfolds. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button too, because you need to see how this plays out. You see, Harrison had a nasty pattern of behavior. He would buy up these old rundown apartment complexes in working-class neighborhoods. He would skip out on doing any real maintenance or repairs. He treated his tenants like his personal piggy banks. If a water pipe burst, he would tell them to fix it themselves or pack up and leave. If someone complained about the thick black mold creeping up the bathroom walls, he would threaten to call Child Protective Services on them. He thrived on their fear. He knew these hardworking folks couldn't afford high-priced corporate lawyers. He knew they were too terrified of being homeless to cause a fuss. He would lurk near the leasing office, spitting dark streams of tobacco juice onto the gravel. He would watch Maya walk by, his eyes narrowing with pure malice just because of the color of her skin and the pride in her step. He would find little ways to make her life a living hell. One day, she would turn on her kitchen faucet to cook dinner for her boy, and only a pathetic drip of brown water would come out. Harrison had secretly shut off her main valve just to mess with her. Another day, she would find a bright orange notice taped to her front door demanding some fabricated maintenance fee. But Maya never broke. Then came the first week of October. Now, Maya had never been late on her rent a single day in her life. Not once. She always paid right on the first of the month like clockwork, but on the night of October 1st, her bank's online portal went completely dead. They were running emergency system maintenance from 11 at night until 5 in the morning. She sat at her clean kitchen table, staring at the red banner on her laptop screen. She tried to process the electronic transfer 5 different times. The little loading wheel just kept spinning. And spinning. The very next morning, on October 2nd, she walked right down to the leasing office. She was there first thing at 8 o'clock when the doors opened. She had a certified cashier's check right there in her hand. It was for the full amount of the rent, plus an extra $50 just to cover any trouble the delay might have caused. She was exactly 1 day late, and it was entirely due to a banking glitch. She stood inside that dingy leasing office, looking at Harrison. He was sitting behind a desk littered with empty soda cans and blank eviction forms. Maya extended the envelope calmly. Harrison didn't take it. He folded his beefy arms and slumped back in his creaking leather chair. A nasty, satisfied smirk spread all the way across his face. He looked her dead in the eye and told her he didn't want her check. He said her lease stated rent was due by midnight on the 1st, with absolutely no grace period. He told her she broke the contract. He leaned in closer and said he was frankly sick of looking at her face around his property. He claimed he already had a new tenant lined up who was willing to pay $300 more a month for her unit. He told her to take her little check, take her kid, and get the hell out of his sight. He gave her until sundown to vacate the premises. She tried to explain the situation to him. She kept her voice respectful and steady. But he just laughed right in her face. The air in that office smelled like stale tobacco and cheap cologne. It was the smell of a man who thought he was a king ruling over a kingdom of dirt. He didn't care about the truth. He just wanted an excuse to throw her out on the street. He wanted to break her spirit. He wanted to see her beg and cry like all the others did. But Maya didn't shed a single tear. She just turned around, walked out into the humid morning air, and went straight to work. She had a plan. She knew exactly what she was dealing with, and she knew exactly how to dismantle his little kingdom piece by piece. Fast forward 12 hours from that morning. It is now 9:30 at night. The storm has rolled in hard off the Gulf of Mexico. The sky is pitching down absolute buckets of cold water. The wind is howling through the breezeways of the Willow Creek apartments, rattling the loose gutters. Maya turns her dented Chevy Cruze into the parking lot. The headlights sweep across the muddy, overgrown grass. And that is when she sees it, her entire life. Scattered in the mud like trash. Her son's clothes are soaking up the dirty puddle water. Her neat, thick textbooks are ruined, the pages flapping wildly in the wind. The small American flag that sat on her desk is now trampled into the wet dirt under a heavy boot print. She looks up the stairs. The heavy wooden door to apartment 4B is hanging wide open, swinging on one bent hinge. The old brass doorknob has been violently ripped completely out of the frame. The wood around the lock is completely splintered and raw, exposing the cheap insulation inside. Standing right there on the second-floor walkway, looking down at the mess, is Harrison. He is holding a heavy, black iron crowbar in his right hand. He is breathing hard, wiping the rain off his forehead. He is looking down at his handiwork like a proud hunter who just bagged a prize buck. He has just executed what the law calls a self-help eviction. He didn't go to court. He didn't file the proper paperwork. He didn't get a judge's order. He didn't call a county constable to execute a writ of possession. He just took a piece of cold iron, smashed her door in, and threw a mother and her young child out into a dangerous thunderstorm. Now, take a good look around the complex. Look closely at the dark windows of the other apartments. You can see the cheap plastic blinds twitching. You can see the dim shadows of the neighbors standing in their living rooms. They are watching. They see a woman standing in the freezing rain with a crying 5-year-old boy clinging to her leg. But nobody opens their door. Nobody comes out to offer a blanket or an umbrella. Nobody steps up to tell Harrison to back off. They are too scared. They are too scared of his retaliation. They are too terrified of losing their own cheap roofs to say a single word. That is the chilling reality of the bystander effect. Imagine that horrible, sinking feeling. Imagine coming home after a brutal 12-hour shift, your feet aching, your child tired and hungry, only to find everything you own in this world being destroyed by a heartless bully who thinks the rules don't apply to him. It makes your blood absolutely boil, doesn't it? It makes you want to reach through the screen. If you are standing shoulder to shoulder with Maya right now in the pouring rain, if you want to see this arrogant man get exactly what he deserves, you need to hit that subscribe button immediately. Trust me on this, you do not want to miss how this entire situation turns around in a heartbeat. And while you are down there in the comments, I want you to type Black Excellence. Let the algorithm know we are ready for some real justice tonight. Show some love for a mother who refuses to shatter. Maya doesn't scream. A lesser person would have completely lost their mind right then and there. They would have run up those concrete stairs screaming at the top of their lungs, cursing his name. They might have even picked up a rock or tried to swing at him. And honestly, that is exactly what Harrison wanted. He wanted her to act erratic. He wanted her to attack him so he could play the victim and claim self-defense. He wanted the perfect excuse to call the cops and have her thrown in a county jail cell for felony assault. But Maya is as cool as a block of winter ice. She doesn't give him the satisfaction. She turns around slowly and gently places TJ into the back seat of her car. She clicks his seatbelt in tight, hands him his little drawing tablet to distract him, and locks the car door to keep him safe, warm, and dry. Then, she turns back toward the stairs. She walks right up to the edge of the puddle. She reaches into the deep pocket of her wet denim jacket. She pulls out her smartphone. She wipes a drop of rain off the camera lens with her thumb, switches the screen to video mode, and calmly hits record. She doesn't say a single word to him. She just starts panning the camera around the lot. She films the broken wooden rocking horse. She films the scattered textbooks. She films the splintered door frame upstairs. And then, she zooms in right on Harrison's smug, flushed face, making absolute sure to get a clear, high-definition, undeniable shot of that heavy iron crowbar gripped tightly in his right hand. She is collecting her evidence. Because Maya knows the law. Every single thing he did tonight is a textbook, flagrant violation of the Texas Property Code. Down here in the Lone Star State, executing a lockout like that without a court order is basically like pulling the pin on a live hand grenade and stuffing it right down your own pants. Harrison notices the little red recording light on her phone. His smile falters for a half second, but his ego quickly takes over again. He waddles heavily down the wet concrete stairs, his heavy work boots splashing loudly in the puddles. He stops about 3 feet away from her, puffing out his chest, towering over her, trying to use his sheer physical size to intimidate her into backing down. He looks down with a repulsive, triumphant sneer. "Go ahead and film it, little girl," he yells, his voice booming over the sound of the thunder. "Put it on Facebook. Put it on the news for all I care. You really think the Houston police are gonna do anything about a hardworking landlord taking back his own property from a deadbeat tenant? You think they care about you? I'll save you the trouble. I'm gonna call 'em right now myself. I'm gonna tell 'em you're trespassing on private property and threatening my life. Let's see who they believe when they get here, Maya." He actually reaches into his flannel shirt pocket and pulls out his own phone, completely confident that his word as a wealthy, established property owner will automatically trump the word of a young, soaking wet black mother. Maya lowers her phone just an inch. She looks Harrison dead in his watery, arrogant eyes. The rain is dripping off her eyelashes, but she doesn't blink. A tiny, razor-sharp smile cuts across her lips. It is the very first time she has smiled all night. Her voice drops an octave. It is no longer the polite tone she used in the leasing office. It is completely steady, completely lethal. And it cuts straight through the sound of the heavy rain like a hunting knife. "Please do, Mr. Harrison," she says, her words slow and deliberate, "call them. In fact, save your battery. I have already called them. They should be turning into the complex right about now." Right on cue. The law arrives. Two heavy Harris County Sheriff SUV cruisers pull up rapidly, their tires splashing thick water as they come to a sudden screeching halt right behind Maya's car. The red and blue police lights cut through the thick sheets of rain, reflecting wildly off the wet asphalt and lighting up the whole parking lot. Two veteran deputies step out of their units, their heavy flashlights cutting through the dark storm. Now, Harrison actually smiles when he sees them. He knows one of these deputies. Deputy Miller. Miller occasionally works off-duty security details for some of the local commercial businesses in the area. Harrison figures this is his golden ticket. He figures he can use the good old boy network to sweep this whole ugly thing right under the rug and get Maya hauled off in handcuffs before midnight. He waddles quickly toward the deputies, waving his thick arms in the air. He puts on a grand, dramatic show of being an aggrieved property owner who was just viciously attacked. He points an aggressive, trembling finger right back at Maya. "Deputy Miller. Thank God you're here, man." He yells over the rain. "This woman right here is completely unhinged. Her rent is delinquent. I came over here to give her a lawful notice, and she just started screaming. She threw a glass bottle right at my head and threatened to burn this whole building down. I had to change the locks tonight just to protect the other good tenants in this complex. She's dangerous, officer. Look at her, she's trespassing right now. You need to put her in cuffs before she hurts somebody." Deputy Miller, a tall, stern-faced Texan with a thick mustache, looks from Harrison over to Maya. He walks over to her slowly. His hand rests instinctively near his heavy utility belt, but his posture is cautious. The second deputy stands back, shining a heavy flashlight right onto that sad pile of ruined furniture in the mud. "Ma'am, step back away from the vehicle for me," Deputy Miller says firmly. "What's going on here tonight? This man says you're causing a disturbance and that you don't belong on the property." Maya doesn't flinch. She doesn't raise her voice. She just wipes a cold drop of rain from her forehead, steps forward with complete absolute poise, and reaches slowly into the inner pocket of her wet denim jacket. Harrison screams out from behind the cop. "Watch out, Miller. She's reaching for something. She's got a weapon." Maya slowly pulls out a heavy, leather-bound wallet. She flips it open in the palm of her hand. Inside, illuminated brightly by the deputy's flashlight, is a gleaming gold badge. Right next to it is an official, laminated identification card bearing the Great Seal of the state of Texas. The card reads in bold, crisp black letters. "Honorable Maya Linwood, Presiding Judge, Harris County Housing Court District 4. Oh, y'all." The silence that followed that move was louder than any thunderclap I have ever heard. Look at Deputy Miller's face. His eyes go from suspicious to wide as dinner plates in a fraction of a second. He doesn't just stop walking, his whole body goes completely rigid. Because he knows exactly who is standing in front of him. This isn't just some random tenant down on her luck. This is Judge Maya Linwood. The absolute toughest, most brilliant, and most unyielding housing court judge in the entire metropolitan district. Oh, the sweet, beautiful smell of poetic justice. Harrison wanted a dirty street fight, but he didn't realize he just brought a cheap toy knife to a legal drone strike. If your jaw just dropped when she pulled out that badge, flood that comment section with black excellence right now. Let's make the comment section shake. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you better hit that button right now. Because we are about to watch a corrupt bully get completely dismantled by the law. Deputy Miller immediately pulls his hand away from his belt. He snaps to attention and touches the brim of his Stetson hat slightly in a gesture of profound professional respect. His voice completely changes, losing all of its roughness. Your Honor," he stammers. "Ma'am. I am so sorry. We had absolutely no idea. What on earth is happening here?" Maya finally speaks. Her voice is pure, uncut authority now. It is sharp, clear, and it cuts through the sound of the rain like a steel blade. She doesn't even look at Harrison. She keeps her eyes locked dead on the deputy. Deputy Miller, for the past month, my office has been conducting an undercover judicial investigation into predatory leasing practices in this specific zip code, following dozens of complaints of systemic tenant harassment. I chose to lease this unit under my maiden name to witness these alleged actions firsthand. Tonight, Mr. Harrison has provided me with all the first-hand evidence I could ever possibly require. Panic cut right to Harrison. His face goes from an angry, flushed purple to a sickeningly pale, pasty white. The dark tobacco juice is dripping down his chin, his jaw is hanging completely loose, catching the rain. His big knees are visibly shaking under his wet jeans. He drops the heavy iron crowbar. It clatters loudly against the wet concrete stairs. Judge. He stutters, his voice cracking like a terrified child. You're a judge? Now, hold on a minute now, Your Honor. There's been a massive misunderstanding here. A terrible, terrible mistake. I didn't know. I swear to God Almighty. I didn't know who you were. I was just stressed out about the property taxes. I'm a good guy, asked Deputy Miller. Let's just go inside, get dry, and we can work this out like civilized folks. I'll give you 3 months of free rent. 6 months. Judge Maya Linwood turns her head slowly. She looks at Harrison for the very first time since the police arrived. Her face is an absolute mask of unyielding justice. She steps closer to him. Her wet denim jacket is dripping, but she looks like absolute royalty standing there in the mud. You'll give me nothing, Mr. Harrison, she says coldly. You didn't know who I was? That is precisely the point. If I were a regular single mother with no knowledge of the law, tonight you would have left me and my young son homeless in a severe thunderstorm. You would have left our worldly possessions ruined in the dirt, all to satisfy your illegal greed. You didn't care about the law. You didn't care about basic human decency. You only care right now because you finally got caught. She turns back to Deputy Miller, pointing out specific ruined items on the ground and the smashed door frame upstairs. Her tone becomes clinical, reciting the law with flawless, terrifying precision. Deputy, pursuant to Texas Property Code Section 92.0081, a landlord who intentionally utilizes self-help lockout measures without a writ of possession from a court is engaged in an ongoing unlawful act. Furthermore, by breaking my door with a crowbar and throwing my personal property into a storm, he has committed criminal mischief over $2,500, which constitutes a state jail felony under Texas Penal Code Section 28.04. He has also committed criminal trespass into a dwelling under Section 30.05. Deputy Miller, do your duty. Harrison tries to back away, stumbling heavily over a wet cardboard box full of kitchen utensils. Deputy Miller doesn't hesitate for a single second. He steps forward, grabs Harrison's beefy right arm, spins him around hard against the wet side of the police cruiser, and pulls a set of shiny steel handcuffs from his belt. Click, click. Miller. Come on, man. Harrison wails, crying out as his arms are pulled painfully behind his broad back. You can't do this to me. I've got a bad back. Your Honor, please. Have some mercy. I've got a family. I'll fix the damn door. I'll pay for everything. The second deputy steps up, pushes Harrison's head down, and shoves him into the cramped, hard plastic backseat of the police cruiser. The heavy door slams shut with a definitive thud, instantly cutting off his pathetic wailing. Through the wet window, you can see Harrison pressing his head against the metal cage, weeping uncontrollably. Look at that right there. The man who thought he owned the whole neighborhood. The big loud bully who liked to make poor, helpless folks cry and beg for mercy. Now he is sitting in the back of a squad car, crying like a baby into his own dirty flannel shirt. That, my friends, is what we call a pure, 100, proof shot of Texas karma. He thought he was throwing a helpless woman out on the street, but all he did was walk himself straight into a felony booking cell at the Harris County Jail. Now, Harrison didn't just get one uncomfortable night in jail. Because Maya had everything documented flawlessly on her phone, and because she was exactly who she was, the district attorney didn't pull a single punch. Harrison was formally indicted on multiple felony counts. The civil court hit him with maximum statutory damages. He was ordered to pay Maya over $10,000 for the destruction of her property, plus massive civil penalties for every single day that lock was changed illegally. But it didn't stop there. The media exposure from the case triggered a massive, sweeping federal investigation into his entire real estate portfolio. Within 6 short months, his predatory empire completely collapsed under the sheer weight of class action lawsuits, heavy fines, and back taxes. He was forced to sell off every single one of his buildings just to pay his legal debts and avoid an extended prison sentence. He went from being a millionaire slumlord to completely broke, living in a rented, run-down trailer on the dusty outskirts of town. Let's take a quick second to talk about the real law here. Because this ain't just an entertaining story, this is a shield for you and your family. Under Texas Property Code Section 92.0081, it is strictly and 100% illegal for a landlord to engage in self-help evictions. Even if you are completely late on your rent, a landlord cannot pull your doors off. They cannot shut off your water or electricity to force you out. They cannot change your locks without giving you a written notice on your front door explaining exactly where you can get a new key 24 hours a day, regardless of whether you pay the rent or not. To legally evict a tenant in Texas, a landlord must go through the formal justice of the peace eviction lawsuit process, get a judge's judgment, and have a county constable execute a formal writ of possession. If they don't do that exact process, they are breaking the law, and you can sue them for civil penalties, actual damages, and your attorney fees. Know your rights, y'all. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Harrison learned that lesson the absolute hard way. But before we go, I want to ask you a serious question. I want you to be completely, brutally honest with yourself in the comments below. If you were one of those quiet neighbors standing behind the plastic curtains that night, watching that poor mother's things get thrown out into the freezing rain, would you have had the raw courage to step outside and stand beside her? Or would you have kept your lights turned off and stayed silent out of pure fear of losing your own home? It is a tough, uncomfortable question, but I want you to look deep into your own heart. Let's talk about it down below. Drop one final black excellence in the comments to honor Judge Maya Linwood and every single person out there who is actively standing up for truth and justice. And if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. The law is a powerful shield, y'all, but it only works if you know exactly how to hold it. Keep your heads high. Look out for one another out there, and we'll see you on the next one.